I was, I guess, what you'd call a magnificent underachiever. I have pictures of me driving the tractor when I was 6 years old. I was the first male in the family, and hired hands were in very great demand. Nothing really distinguished me in high school. In fact, college wasn't a possibility for me. I was caught smoking in my senior year. And the principal said, well, you know the rules, you're gone. So in a couple of days, he said, look, I'll make you a deal. You do something useful with your life, and I'll reinstate you so you can graduate. So enlisting in the service was considered doing something with your life. My parents were pretty much pacifists, and they asked me if I didn't want to do Brethren Volunteer Service, which was an alternative to military service. And I said, no, don't think so. So came down to Alexandria, took a battery of tests, and I said, I actually seem to have some knack for technology, so they signed me up for 3 years, and they promised to send me to electronics school. It's really where I got introduced to technology. Part of my duty tour was to go to Cape Canaveral, Florida, check out a Redstone ballistic missile and fire it at night out over the Atlantic Ocean. While I was down there, I was assigned to a West Point officer who had an engineering background, and he commented, and I still remember, I can still picture where we were standing and what we were doing, when he said, Joe, you actually seem to have a knack for this stuff. And I thought, you know, I think I'm going to give college a try. Our high school principal, the same one who agreed to reinstate me, worked pretty hard to try to get me admitted to Virginia Tech. I graduated in the summer of '62, and the Cuban Missile Crisis occurred in October. I was hired into DuPont's experimental station in Wilmington, Delaware. Well, I was assigned to the engineering physics laboratory, and we provided technical consulting to their operating arms. My first 3 patents came there, and it was in the area of measurement of octane rating of gasoline. I was doing very well as an electrical engineer, and DuPont was selling these octane measurement machines to gasoline refineries all over the world. And they came to me and they said, look, engineering is not where it's at. Management is. Would you consider another assignment? They said, we'd like to offer you the Atlantic Richfield National Account. And it's in downtown New York City. We'd like for you to live out in Fairfield, Connecticut, and commute in every day. I said, well, I certainly, appreciate the consideration, but I have to respectfully decline. I have a wife and I have young children, and I'm actually very fond of them, and spending 4 hours a day commuting just really is not what I had in mind. So I resigned, and the next day came to Virginia to sell electronic equipment. I designed 2 circuits for the DuPont company, and they had told me that if a small company was to spring up down in Virginia to build these things, they'd probably look favorably on it. That turned out to be favorably enough to give me a contract for $83,000 to build some of these things. You have to understand that this different financial scale those days. It's me and my wife, and I hunt up a guy that I'd worked with a couple of years, and Billy LeMaster, who's still with me, by the way. And we started the business on our kitchen table. I'm the luckiest guy I know, because I get to work at something I do for nothing. I'd do it as a hobby if I didn't make a good living from it, and I get to work with people that I like and respect. I've always been in public service all my life. I was the chief umpire of Little League for 8 years. I did science fairs for 30 years. I was vice chairman of the hospital board, sat on the bank boards. Paul Zaluka, who was chairman of the Republican Party, called me and asked if I'd run for the House of Delegates seat. I was an unknown. In fact, Leesburg Today had an article at the end of the year which put it in perspective. It said, political novice Joe May came out of nowhere to win handily. A couple things I'm proud of. One I'm truly proud of is rural rustic roads policy, because honestly I feel that it has preserved a substantial amount of Virginia countryside. Very important piece of legislation, which is the Uniform Electronic Transaction Act, is one of the enablers of online sales these days. Without it, it would be very difficult to conduct online sales. Oatlands, the Mosby Heritage Trail, Mount Zion Church, I just get great satisfaction when I see them there. I wish and hope to continue on at work doing product development and inventing. In fact, I hope to file for 3 patents here within the next month or 2. This is absolutely the best time I've had in 34 years. I'm enjoying what I'm doing and wish and hope to contribute to the community for some years to come.